Welcome to Soul Journey Doula, a Big Blend Radio end-of-life podcast featuring Lea Brovedani. Welcome, everybody. It is the month of April, the time when we celebrate Earth Day, Arbor Day, National Park Week, basically Mother Nature herself. And Lea Brovedani, the Soul Journey Doula, she wanted to explore and share the ways that we could be more sustainable at the end of our lives in regards to burials and memorials. And so today we showcase Better Place Forests. This is an incredible organization. They offer a sustainable memorial within a protected place in the forest for ashes of a loved one to be returned to the earth. Each tree can accommodate more than one loved one and even your beloved pet. Think about that. In traditional settings, that doesn't normally happen. So it's a beautiful, peaceful setting. It's sustainable. It's safe for trees and the wider forest ecosystem. I love this because I think it protects the forest too. So we chatted with Alethea Valley. She's the general manager of the Better Place Forests, Point Arena Forest, which happens to be the very first memorial forest. She's helped hundreds of families find their tree and dozens return their loved one to the earth. She's a true leader in the green memorials space. Memorial versus burial. You're going to find out more about that because there's all kinds of things I had no clue about and made mistakes on because I thought a burial is kind of the same as a cremation. Nope. And no scattering ashes and spreading ashes. That's not considered a burial, quite frankly. So we learned about that on the show today. And coming up first, I had a little chit-chat, an introductory chit-chat with Lea Brovedani. And then from there, you take a listen to our conversation with Alethea.
I think people assume that you're either cremated or you're buried, and that's usually where they stop. But there's so many ways of honoring your body and giving your family a place to go and really honor you that feels good for people. And I thought it would be really interesting to discuss some of the maybe less common ways that, everything from, did you know that they're now able to compost bodies, which I think is really cool.
I do too, because energy never dies,
Yeah. And, so that's one of the things. Cremation, of course, people are pretty familiar with that. But there's also water cremations, and I think we talk a little bit about that later. There's that.
I didn't know about that at all. I just thought we, went into a little fire, the funeral pyre. But that does create some pollution with that.
Yeah.
So
when you're at a cremation, it takes about 28 gallons of fuel to cremate a body. And so that would be equivalent to over a 600-mile trip. But as you said, Lisa, that's one holiday. Okay, that didn't sound right, did it? But yeah.
Well, it's true. You go on a vacation, you're going to drive more than 400 miles normally, there and back or there. And so hopefully you're doing it all in one car, but maybe not. It's a lot, but when you think this is the final fuel you're going to give back, we have to give and take. I mean, there's no pure way of doing anything, but we need to take every step we can take. I don't know if you're like me, but we have our Nature Connection show, which this episode will be also on. So everyone listening, some of you may be listening from our Nature Connection channel as well, but we talked about this month, coming up on our episode, our fourth Friday episode. And we talked about anxiety of, people being scared of climate change and wanting to do things, and not even just being scared of climate change, if lifelong supporters of the environment and wanting things to be right. And it can drive us up the wall. And we had a lady, Cheryl Luchin, on our show talking about just these little tasks we can do every day. Just do one little thing, even if it's a meditation or, hey, maybe just stop, you know, leaving the water running while you're brushing your teeth. All these little teeny things
Yeah.
do add up on a global level.
And
So yeah, go
moving
ahead.
away. Yeah, moving away from the really expensive. And I know that people did a lot of this because they wanted to honor the person who had passed. But now you can honor them by not polluting the earth, because embalming fluids are really poisonous to the soil.
Mm,
So instead of doing that, there's an opportunity now to say, okay, let's just put some in a shroud, which
mm.
is like a natural linen, and bury them in the earth. And I know that that can sound kind of unappealing for a lot of people, but when you think of it, if you could do that, plant a tree over the person, and then being able to know that someone is actually nurturing the soil and allowing the tree to grow, I think that's kind of beautiful. And then, like they said, cremation and mixing it with soil and putting it around trees is another thing to do. There's the water cremation that people can look into. And here, Lisa,
Mm.
this is something for you. How about just a sea burial where we put a couple of rocks on your ankles and throw you overboard? And okay.
I'm fine with that personally.
And
I'm
sea
I'm
burials, I mean, I know I'm being kind of flippant about it, but burials at sea have been around for generations. And it's a way to actually very earth friendly way of
I always
giving.
said the sharks need some more food, you know. And if I had pizza the night before, like, hey, maybe, they want to taste of pepperoni. I don't, I'm just saying I'm not being flippant either. We always have humor on this show because you have
Yeah.
to have levity in these discussions. You just do. Um, I think the sea burial is great. My grandmother was buried at sea, but as cremated, and now I'm thinking like we all just started throwing remains in the ocean. Whereas I know that like Better Place forests have rules. And by the way, you can't just dump people's remains legally. There is, and I found that out on Better Place Forest. You can't just go, well, I'm going to do this. And how many people do? A lot, a lot of people. And I could tell you some crazy stories of friends doing certain things to put, the remains in certain places. But actually, you do need a license,
Yeah.
especially for it to be a memorial. Um, so
But if
it's,
you've got the land,
yeah, you can do
one
it.
of the things that I checked out is we're moving back up to Nova Scotia. We've got a big parcel of land, and you can actually get approval to have a small corner of it made into um, a plot, burial plot, and have your remains placed on your land. So, like, there's all kinds of things that I don't think people think of
Mm.
that allow you to do things that maybe resonate more with you rather than having a really expensive funeral where you're embalmed and you're put into a casket that never breaks down, and then spending all that money. And I know that the funeral industry is $1 billion business. So
It's huge.
careful
It's
about what
huge.
I say
And
because I think they are starting to go more green as well. If you're healthy and you think that this is a long way off, this is the perfect time to start figuring out what it is you want. Because
mhm.
you don't want to have to make these decisions when you're ill. You want to make them while you can still make these really clear-headed decisions. So whether you decide that you're going to be cremated, you want a sky burial, which is a whole other thing, or you want a burial at sea, or you want to be composted, or whatever, make those decisions now. I would encourage you to kind of search out healthy ways for the earth to dispose of your body. Like let's turn, instead of polluting the earth, think of feeding the earth.
Things are changing, and we got to change with it. And
Let's talk about it.
yeah, exactly. Before we get to our segment with Alethea Valley, I wanted to make a quick note in the fact that Better Place Forest does not do burials or internment. In fact, I think during the podcast, I mentioned burials, and it's not true. That's not what they do. And I wanted to make sure that you knew that what they do is they offer the opportunity to spread ashes at the base of a tree. It is a process that is minimally invasive to the tree's root structure. They mix the ashes with native soil from their forest to help make the trace nutrients more bioavailable to the tree and balance the ashes pH with the forest ecosystem. How cool is that? Their customers basically purchase a spreading right for each person to be placed at their tree. They may also authorize future generations to purchase spreading rights beneath their tree as well. In this way, a family tree can be buried down through the generations. There is no limit to the amount of spreading rights that can be purchased at one tree. So just wanted to clarify that. So as you go into the interview and you hear me do an oopsie of burials, that's not how it is. It is a new thing for a lot of us to really grasp and understand. So I hope you really enjoy this podcast because what they're doing is absolutely incredible. So enjoy. So Alethea Valley, I love her name. That is it. And to have the last name Valley is perfect. Is the general manager of the Point Arena Forest, which is part of the Better Place Forest. This is an incredible company that does basically, we're talking about burials today, right? So we're talking about sustainability and earth-friendly ways of taking care of our shell when our soul leaves our body. Let's put it that way. And what Better Place Forest does is amazing because you are part of a tree in a forest, and they also give back to forests and trees in the world. And in fact, Point Arena Forest, which is in the Mendocino County region of California, Northern California, is the first memorial forest. And Alethea has been a spearhead of this. So I encourage you to go to betterplaceforest.com, especially as, you know, we've got it's Earth Day coming up. We've got Arbor Day, and Arbor Day is a big deal, April 26th. So welcome, Alethea. How are you?
Thank you, Lisa. I'm doing really well today. It's a beautiful day here on the Mendocino coast, and it's really great to connect with you today and celebrate Earth Month together,
Yes.
Even though we're on separate sides of the country. And I'm excited to have the conversation with you both. It can be a difficult conversation, but there's actually a lot to celebrate in the end of life space right now. So it's a really exciting time.
Wouldn't you say that, Lee? Soul Journey Doula? I mean, it's a celebration of life. And I think that's kind of what you do, Lee, is really look at people having joy, you know, at the end.
It doesn't mean that you don't acknowledge and recognize that when someone dies, there you have grief and you mourn. But I think doing things like what you're doing with the Better Place Forest is a comfort for the people who are left behind, because they can look at it and see this is something that it's like, you know, it is the circle of life.
Mm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not just for the people that are left behind. I think we care for many people that are terminally ill and facing their own end of life. And it's a gift to them to kind of know that they'll be celebrated and remembered in potentially a natural space. And that's kind of a real gift to know that you'll leave behind that legacy and some happy memories to celebrate in the forest or wherever your plan leads you, just knowing that that's all taken care of is such a gift.
Yeah.
I think that's what Lee does a lot of, is like get it set up first. And everyone, you can go to betterplaceforest.com to learn more about what we're talking about here. But Alethea, can you tell us a little bit about how this started and what Better Place Forest does? I know we'll get into your Arbor Day initiative with the Arbor Day Foundation, but give us a little overview of how this all works for, families are sitting there going, or even an individual sitting there going, hey, how am I wanting to end my life? Where do I want to rest and my family and friends together?
Yes, so what we offer is an alternative to traditional placement of ashes or cemeteries. We offer this for people that choose cremation, and this can be by traditional means, by fire cremation, or now, of course, we have aquamation or alkalized hydrolysis, which does the process with a liquid. And so there's all these new, more conservation-minded methods that are coming to fruition now. So it's a great time to start thinking about alternative and eco-friendly ways to, process your body. And what we offer is we find and steward forests that have a high conservation value. So we look for forests that have dynamic species and beautiful lands that may otherwise be logged or mined or just need a little help from humans to be saved. And we purchase these forests, and they're all established forests with fully grown trees. And what we offer folks is the option to come out and choose a tree that resonates with them, with the species and size and section of the forest. And once you choose a tree, it then becomes your forest. So you can create some beautiful memories here long before anyone ever needs to hold a memorial. And when the time comes, we work closely with the planners or the family to plan a memorial that really resonates with the family that it has lost a loved one. And our memorials can be very simple, or they can be a little bit more extravagant with military honors or, readings and music. But generally, we have kind of a simplistic celebration of life that happens in the forest. And it's just a really beautiful thing. And I think our families find us about 50% in pre-planning. So young families, new families will come with their children and look for a tree that resonates with their family, and then they'll get to come visit that area and really create beautiful memories in the forest and the journey to the forest together long before a memorial takes place. And then, of course, there's the at-need situation where the family isn't quite sure what the person wanted because maybe they weren't comfortable having that conversation, or there was a sudden loss. And so then we're there to kind of help them navigate the way and see what feels good to them and what area of the forest, or which forest for that matter, would really resonate with their loved one's legacy.
And so with this, it's interesting because the pre-planning helps, right? But after someone's ashes, right, have been, and I was reading on your site that there's a limit of, you can add people to this forest, right, with ashes, but you're limiting it because you want to take care of the soil, which is, we know, the soil is key. In this country, we need to get our topsoil back, man. So that's important.
Mm-hmm.
So you balance that out about how many people, or even pets, and that's something too, that you balance that out, and then people can actually go to the forest and visit their loved ones. So like, if I was buried up in your area, your Point Arena forest, well, it's in Mendocino County, I wouldn't complain about that. Hey, listen, when I go, I'm fine with that. I'm telling you, I'm good with that. Or the Flagstaff one, which was, we were Arizona people, and Flagstaff has been through wildfires. So whatever we can do for there. But people can come and visit after, right? So it's not just like here, visit, then it's over. It continues after the actual memorial.
Absolutely. We really encourage families to build a relationship with the forest, and we'll have open house events. For instance, Point Arena this season we're calling it our summer solstice celebration, and we'll welcome, tree owners and their families and anyone who's just curious about our forest to come and take an exploratory walk and just learn a little bit about us, or for the people who have revisited many times, to come bring a picnic blanket and just kind of enjoy the forest and nature and all the joy that brings well beyond the memorial or before the memorial.
I know
for that matter.
Human composting is going to be allowed in California, and I think it's 2027. They're saying that they're going to actually allow it. Are you doing anything? And I know that for a lot of people listening, they're going to be going, what? But human composting, so that your body actually turns into compost that can sustain and help grow and sustain the forest. So are you doing anything in that as well?
Oh, well, Lee, we're definitely having the conversation. We're excited about the possibility. 2027 is the go date for California, but I'm sure you're aware there's other states who are already offering it with Washington and Oregon. And we're looking forward to looking at the options when it comes to fruition in a state that we have a forest in. And I think it's such a beautiful idea. There's a real potential to, as you're saying, really help nourish kind of depleted forest lands or just lands in general, with organic matter, which is a beautiful thing. So we're excited about the possibility and looking forward to being able to offer that as well. It's a little bit down the road, so all the details haven't been worked out yet, but it's an exciting time. There's so many different really meaningful and impactful green options now to choose from.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned some of the cremation processes being a little different than what we think of. I didn't know, what was the aqua thing? I haven't heard of that. I just thought
So aquamation in California, it began being offered for pets only. And now in many states, it's available for humans as well. And what they do is they have like a large kind of canister, and they'll place the body in a solution of lye. And so the lye will break down the organic matter, and then the residual, just like traditional cremation where there's residual bones, will be processed beyond that. But it's a more eco-friendly way in the sense that there's not as much emitting into the air, and it's a really cool option for those that choose it.
So it's exciting. I mean, we look at, right now, I think Lee and I were going back and forth about this over the last couple of days about, there's green barrels, there's all these different ways, and nothing's 100% pure, but you're providing this amazing opportunity for it to be, you're also protecting trees. And, I think that's really important. So when someone uses, Better Place Forest, you actually go and plant trees. Can you tell people that part? Because I know in Arbor Day, your connection with the Arbor Day Foundation, that's also a big deal coming up right now. So explain how all of that works, in normal day-to-day operations, and then what's happening, before, Arbor Day happens on April 26th.
Yeah, so it's an exciting facet of what we offer. It's something I'm really proud of, that we can make this impact. So we work with companies such as the Arbor Day Foundation, where they'll take advantage of the spring rains, and they will plant, thousands upon thousands of saplings in areas that need it. So, for instance, the project that we're working on right now, and we're doubling our what we call reforestation saplings. So when you purchase, you get double the impact. Right now, we're working to reforest area that was destroyed by the Rim Fire. And so that was a massive wildfire in a remote canyon in California's Tulum County. And so that's something that will be happening. I'm sure it's kind of already getting underway, but in a massive effort to really bring back wildlife and just all the benefits that trees provide for the environment. Yeah. So, and then, we have worked with One Tree Planted as well, and they work all over the world, and they're they mean business. They have a goal to reforest, and that is their direct initiative, and they've done some amazing work. And it's not just fire. Humans have done a lot of destruction to different environments, and so with areas that have been overmined or potentially over use of agriculture on certain lands. So there's a lot of work to do, and these companies are really making a dent. So it's really exciting.
I like these options, and I like to hear about it because we've done things with shows with American Forest talking about really this is one of basically if we put our trees back, we could, that's the solution to climate change is trees, period. I mean, that's it.
It really is. It's that simple. There's this one easy ticket solution. If everyone really put their energy behind it, that would really go a long way.
Yeah. And what's also unfortunate is it's the lack of trees are in neighborhoods that really need them. They got left out because it's like, oh, sorry, you're in the poor side of the neighborhood, or hey, it's inequality basically is what's happened in our country for trees. And that actually creates illness, which leads to a quicker death, for people. Especially if you don't have the finances for healthcare. So it's this weird, horrible cycle that we have in this country. So I like that part of what you do as a solution, and also to raise awareness of trees. And have you found, with, being there in the forest, do you find that families, but being in a forest setting, because of forest bathing is scientifically proven to work. Have you seen that yourself, that families feel better in a forest when they are there?
Absolutely. Yes, time and time again. As I mentioned, a lot of our visitors are picking a tree out of need for themselves. And, I lead a lot of tours where I help families kind of navigate the forest, and you can visibly see the forest working its magic, and all of the chemicals that are released by trees absorbed, and the interaction with the human body is evident. You can see it, and there's a sense of peace and just kind of knowing like I'm making a good, positive decision. And then on the flip side, I've attended a lot of memorials, and you can see sometimes, especially if the person who picked this option, didn't really share with the people attending what the experience might be like, people arrive and they're prepared to be one sort of way, which is our traditional American kind of grieving way, where it's a little bit solemn and just kind of they're not knowing what to expect. And by the end, about an hour and a half later, you can see a change, an energetic change. And I'm not saying or negating the sadness or saying that, the forest will heal everything, but it does help. And there's something about witnessing the cycle of life and contributing to that that's cathartic. And time and time again, I've seen the forest make a huge difference in people's emotions. And I see it with myself all the time. You know, you go to work, a job is a job, and sometimes you're having a good day and sometimes you're having a bad day, but the bad days are always made so much better with a walk in the forest.
Yeah, completely agree. And it's interesting that what I've noticed is that we're going back to a place where we're looking at alternatives, and there's a real movement in Canada and the United States around changing what the whole burial industry is all about. And it's more about respecting the person and giving people hope. I don't know if hope is the right word, but just a lot more comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a sense of hope and a hope of continuation. And I mean, it's interesting. When I first entered this space, I thought it was going to be all doom and gloom. Yeah. And it turns out that there's a lot of hope, and there's a lot of trust in nature. And it's really beautiful.
What was it like even starting Point Arena Forest? Because this was really the first one, right? What was it like? I mean, I think Mendocino and your region is a little bit more open with that kind of thing, but some areas may not be, just traditionally, regional traditions. Let's put it that way. What was that like?
I think it was interesting in so many ways. Well, it's funny that you mentioned Canada, because two of our founders were born and raised in Canada.
There you go, Lee.
What's that?
I said, there you go, Lee. Lee's Canadian. Yes.
Oh, okay. And, they wanted to begin this idea in Canada, but California was just a little bit more welcoming the whole concept. And so I think that they did really well by picking our coast because, as you can imagine, not to say that there isn't a heavy influence of culture and religion in this area, but it is a little bit more open to alternative ways of living and dying. And so it was kind of the perfect area.
Yeah. California.
Yeah.
Even, I studied emotional intelligence for years, and California was so much further ahead, accepting new ways of thinking. And it just makes sense to me that they would be one of the first to say, okay, let's look into this.
Yeah. Yeah. They have
we've had a really,
Oops, sorry.
We've had a really warm reception, and we've seen, just even in the short time, I've been with the company for 6 years, and I've seen even the religious shift of more religions seeing the need to use less space as a traditional cemetery was, and use less chemicals, and just change our way of thinking. So we're seeing different religions kind of open up to the concept, and different cultural shifts.
Mm-hmm. And in closing here, just looking at the fact is, you're in California, you're up in the Northeast, you're in Arizona, right? So those are some of your main spots where you are. I just go on your website and I start I'm looking on the map. I'm like, oh, you're in Minnesota. You're outside Chicago. You got the Twin Cities. Oh, near Twin Cities, Minnesota. You're in Chicago, Illinois area, New York.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you're growing forests everywhere. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. We've got thousands of acres that we're protecting right now, and hopefully, we'll grow even more. But right now we do have 9 locations, and I'm kind of biased. I love the Point Arena location just because that's where I am. But each forest offers unique beauty and just really special spaces.
So, everybody, for Arbor Day, April 26th, Better Place Forest will plant 25 to 500 saplings for each memorial tree chosen in partnership with Arbor Day Foundation. So those listening here in 2024, and if you're in that decision-making process, you may want to be part of doubling up some tree plantings. I'm just saying. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Plant a tree.
Our motto is more trees.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a good motto.
I like it. I like it. Plant more trees so we can breathe. Thank you. That's the most important thing, right? And it's not just us, it's all the ecosystems. Thank you so much, Alethea. It's been a pleasure having you on the show. Everyone, betterplaceforest.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me today. It was nice to connect with both of you, Lee and Lisa, and I hope you have a wonderful Earth Day.
You
Thank
too.
You. Safe travels.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Very cool. Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Soul Journey Doula show featuring Lea Brovedani. You can keep up with Lee at souljourneydoula.com. Follow our Big Blend Radio podcast at bigblendradio.com.